Go.
Okay. Welcome to the Bandera Electric first electric vehicle charger in Leakey, Texas. My name is Thilo Jensen and I want to all welcome you to that first ceremony. We closed a big gap between Bandera and further off to the east. There is no charger in this territory, so we were happy that the Hondo National Bank allowed us to put the charger on their property. We have a level 2 charger here, which allows for 2 spots parking for electric vehicles, and that will charge up vehicles in about 30 miles per hour that they gain, and that allows them to get enough charge to get to wherever they need to go. And I want to welcome again everyone here. And BEC is currently rolling out more chargers over its territory. So we have designated sites where we want to roll out in the future. And I don't want to reveal too much, but like we plan on going in the town of Comfort. We currently have one in Bandera. And then in the future we'll see where we go in our territory at Medina Lake or Pike Creek or what have you. So like I cannot tell you yet at this point. Okay, it took a little while to get this activated, but I want to start with an official ribbon cutting here, and go ahead there. So.
And then Mr. Bradley, would you like to do the honor?
I will. Come over to the
side. Do you want to come over this way?
bring it over this way.
In front of it.
Yep. Help me win. All right. Go for it.
Yay. Okay, now we can officially use this, and thank you for setting this up. Rohit will give us a short demonstration how this is gonna work. Mr. Radcliffe, I don't know if you want to say anything or.
No, we're pleased to be able to partner with Bandera Electric on this. I think it is something that as we have more people coming into the area here, especially during the summer months with their electric vehicles, that they'll have a spot to, come and charge up and be able to reach all their points of interest on their destination. So we're pleased to have this opportunity, and thank y'all.
Tell us again who you are.
I'm Glenn Bradley. I'm the branch president here at the Hondo National Bank Leakey branch.
Hello, my name is Rohit. I'm the technology applications engineer with Bandera Electric, and I was working on project managing to put this charger in place. And I can show you a little bit about how it works. So basically, you can see here the screen, there's 2 ports here, and each of these corresponds to one of the plugs, and each one can plug into an electric vehicle. The way you use this is, you can see this diagram right here. There's multiple ways you can access this station and pay for your charge. You can use a swiping, you can get a card from ChargePoint, and you can basically swipe it, and it'll link to an account you set up, and it'll automatically release one of these plugs, and you can plug into your car from that. There's also multiple apps you can download onto your phone through which you can access maps of EV charging stations and whatnot. And from there you can pay and activate a session and charge up your car. Now, I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna go into my computer and activate it remotely so I don't have to pay anything. One second. You can see here is the plug that it will go into. This is a standardized plug that has been developed in North America that's common basically across all cars except for the Tesla. But all Tesla cars should have an adapter which you can basically use at any station. click, that means that I just activated the support, so we can just unclick it here and bring it over here. And it's charging. Simple as that. And we can come back here and take a look at the screen, and it'll basically tell you, it will show you the charging rate. It takes a little bit to start to kick up. You can see it jumping up from 1 kilowatt to 4 kilowatts to 7 kilowatts. Now for reference, average water heater is going to be around 4 kilowatts of energy used. So this is around 7.3. So it's about as strong as almost 2 water heaters charging up and dumping electricity into the car.
You ready for some questions?
Sure.
So about how many electric cars are there in Texas right now?
So right now in Texas, there's about 36,000 electric vehicles. Texas is around number 3 or 4, I think, in the nation. Number 1 is California with around 150,000 electric vehicles on the road.
So are they getting more popular in the United States than in Texas?
Yeah, they're definitely getting more popular. The EVs have reached a certain maturity in the last few years. You're definitely seeing them on par, getting closer and closer to being economically viable with gasoline cars in terms of purchasing them initially. And so we're definitely seeing a growth, and which is exactly why BEC wants to start putting in these chargers and trying to get the gaps in the charging network filled out, so that people, as they start to look towards EVs, can start to travel more with more confidence and more security.
So there's a lot of these EV charging stations around Texas, right, already?
Yeah, they're rolling them around. Mostly, again, they're mostly in the cities, because most of the EVs right now are concentrated in urban areas, which is why, you know, co-ops have a big role to fill in trying to get these charging stations out in rural areas.
So if I want to buy an electric car these days, about how much should I expect to spend?
So it varies. Right now, prices are between $30,000 to $40,000. Teslas are kind of on the higher end, versus, you know, this is a Chevy Bolt or a Chevy Bolt, I forget which one, which will be a bit lower. But you can expect right now models are going to be between $30,000 and $40,000. In addition, there is a tax credit that is available. Now that's always going to be changing depending on what the legislation is staying at the state and federal level, but in general there's about a $7,500 tax credit that you can apply for to put towards EV vehicle purchases.
That's great. So in a given year, if you compare spending money for gas on a regular car versus charging a car for a year, which one's going to be cheaper?
So in general, basically, regardless of what the gas prices are, charging up and using an electric vehicle is going to be substantially cheaper than fueling a gasoline vehicle. If you work the numbers out, if you assume a standard electric vehicle will have a tank of about 60 kilowatt hours of battery juice, basically, and you can drive around 240 miles on that. Compare that with a gasoline car that has about 12 gallons but can get around 360 miles. Now, if you work out the math, if you compare gas prices, let's say $2 a gallon versus electricity prices, which in this territory is roughly 8 or 9 cents a kilowatt hour, it's going to work out to being, driving an EV is going to be around 2.4 cents a mile versus a gas car, which will be around 6.7 cents a mile. So it's about a third of the costs of a gas vehicle to drive.
Wow. So a couple questions. How long does it take to charge? And once it's charged, how far can you typically go?
So once it's fully charged, the average EV car is going to be around 240 miles. So for example, with this car, we're able to get to and from Bandera and Leakey pretty easily, especially with this new charging station here now. The charging rates are probably going to be one of the biggest differences between gas vehicles and electric vehicles. Gas vehicles, of course, you know, you just pull up, pump in a bunch of fluid, and you're done in a few minutes. Charging's a lot slower. So this is a level 2 charger. It uses about 20 amps at 240 volts, or no, 30 amps around 240 volts. It's going to take around 6 to 8 hours to charge a 60 kilowatt hour battery pack. So when you're thinking about EV charging, it takes a while. It's a longer term process, which is why when we're planning on how to put these public stations around, we want to put them around more commercial areas where people are going to show up, park for a few hours, hang out, eat at restaurants, and so on. This is also why you're probably going to be charging at home a lot more than in public. And so people with EVs typically have some kind of home charger where you can, do your business in a day, come home at night, plug it in, forget about it, wake up in the morning, it's fully charged, you're good to go.
So why should people be interested in electric cars? Why not just stick to gas cars?
So there's the obvious environmental benefits of having electric vehicles. There's no emissions, the air is going to be a bit cleaner, et cetera, et cetera. The economics, though, are probably going to become their own motivation. Once EV cars become comparable in terms of upfront initial costs, then it's going to be a no-brainer to go with EV cars because they're going to be equally cheap to buy as gas cars, but also be substantially cheaper in terms of fueling. You're going to be spending much less money on your gasoline than your electricity.
That's good. Last question, if somebody's interested in finding out more about electric cars, charging and all that stuff, is there a good website that they can go to?
There's a lot of resources available nowadays on electric vehicles. BEC is going to be working to become a resource for the territory and getting people, educated about electric vehicles. And so basically I'd say ask BEC, ask our marketing team, ask our member relations about electric vehicles, and we're going to be constantly trying to develop more and more resources on EVs, what the models out there are like, what kind of charging infrastructure you can get. We're going to be working on trying to provide our own, working on trying to get BEC to be able to provide installation of EV chargers at people's homes, so be on the lookout for that. One last thing I'll say is that, in general, BEC as an electric co-op, we're very excited about where EVs are going to be going in the future. To circle back to the question of why people should be interested in EVs, one really crucial thing to look at is where the money being spent on fuel is going. Think about oil and gas. When you fuel up at the tank, that money's being kind of sucked up by, large oil corporations mostly, right? And the average person is going to spend around $700 on fuel a year. Now let's take a rough estimate of 30,000 drivers in, a territory. That's going to be around $21 million every year being spent on fuel. That's basically, for all intents and purposes, being taken out of the region, taken out of the territory. If every single one of those 30,000 people switched to electric vehicles, they're going to be saving, about 2/3 of that cost on fuel, and instead paying that money towards electricity. So every one of those drivers is going to be saving, tens of millions of dollars, maybe, let's say around $14 million a year on fuel costs, and instead the roughly $7 million they're going to be still paying for fuel costs is going to go to BEC or their local electric cooperative. So all that money is still is staying in the local economy, which I think is a very interesting point and one of those under discussed benefits of seeing a switch to electric vehicles.
That's good. That's good. Anything else you guys want to say or add?
I just want to pick up on one more fact. We also have green energy here in this town because we have a Leakey community solar out here, and so a lot of this energy supplied by the station is coming from the green solar energy. So that's an important aspect to consider as well. And thank you, Rohit, for answering all the questions. And thank you for coming out here, and hopefully you'll support us on our station.
I can't see the screen. Can you stop it?